I mentioned to you last week, and I mentioned again today, that this part of the lectionary that we've been looking at for the past few weeks, scholars call it Jesus' final discourse. It's really a very boring phrase, but there it is. Jesus' final discourse. In other words, Jesus is doing a lot of talking. It's not a lot of action, which is fine, I guess. And he's talking to his disciples. And today it's also, again, part of his goodbye. He's saying goodbye. And this phrase keeps coming up, especially in John. This phrase, the Spirit of Truth, quote. He keeps talking to them about the Spirit of Truth. I'd like to ask for your indulgence right now. I would like to tell you a true story that happened to me that I told you once before. And if there are any objections to this right now, you can, I was going to say you can leave. I don't want you to leave. I'm trying to be funny here, but I just couldn't get the story out of my mind when the concept of the Spirit of Truth comes up. You know, elsewhere in the New Testament, Pontius Pilate, asked Jesus, because Jesus brings up truth. Do you remember this part? Pilate asked Jesus, what is truth? Because Jesus keeps bringing up truth. What is truth? And one of my favorite authors, Frederick Buechner, said, he wrote, Pilate asked Jesus, what is truth? And Jesus gave him the most profound answer of all. Trick question. Somebody tell me. Pilate asked Jesus, what is truth? Trick question. What did Jesus say? What was Jesus' response? Right. I know you know. Silence. Perhaps the most profound answer of all. Silence. Nevertheless, we search for it. Truth. What is it? And this morning, there's a lot of energy going on in this service. It's because of the youth. Let's do this every Sunday. What do you think? What do you think, Jennifer? Every Sunday? Truth. What do we say to our children, our young people, when they ask us, what is truth? What is it? Jesus talked about it all the time. And now he's saying goodbye to his disciples, and he keeps talking to them about truth. I was 16 years old, and I had my driver's license for about 6 months. And my dad, for those of you that are new today, I'm a preacher's kid. My dad was the pastor of the Presbyterian Church in Marysville, Ohio for 40 years. And he, at this point in the life of his life and the life of the congregation, there was a Lincoln Mercury dealer who was a member of our church. And for the only time in my dad's career, he got a deal. He got a deal on a 1972 Newport Custom. Go ahead and Google it. It's a pretty cool car. 1972 Chrysler Newport Custom. He got a deal, and I had by this time the car was about 4 years old, and I got my driver's license, and I'd had it about 6 months, and I went to my dad, and it was a summer day, and I said, Dad, Dave, my good friend Dave and I want to go to downtown Columbus, to the big city. We want to go to Lazarus. Now, if you're 30 years and younger, you have no idea what Lazarus department store is. But trust me, it was a big deal at the time. I don't remember why, but we wanted to go to Lazarus. And so I said to my dad, Dad, can I take your Chrysler Newport Custom to downtown Columbus with my friend Dave? And my dad said, absolutely not. Are you out of your mind? No, he didn't say that. He was a good dad, and I'm sure he hesitated a little, but he said, sure. I'm talking to you about truth. And if one of our youth comes up and asks us what is truth, what do we say? And so Dave and I got in my dad's 1972 Chrysler Newport Custom, and we drove to downtown Columbus. And Lazarus department store had a parking garage. And we parked in the parking garage. And we went in and did whatever we did in Lazarus, I don't remember what. And then we came back out, and I started the car, I put it in reverse, I went to pull out, wham! I hit a huge parking abutment in whatever, a big pillar, like wider than this. It was huge, and I didn't see it until I hit it. And I'm talking to you about truth. And I want to talk to you about truth. I think the way Jesus tried to talk about truth to his disciples. I don't know. That's what I'm trying to do. And so I was, of course, devastated. And we started driving home on Route 33. Now, with God as my witness, you got to believe me on this. With God as my witness, my friend Dave grew up to be a lawyer. Oh. Yeah, he's a lawyer. So he started making the case for me in the car. We didn't know he was going to be a lawyer at the time. He started making the case. He said, Jay, you don't have to tell your dad what happened. Just tell him that we came out and we found the car like that, and he started making his case. And it was believable. And we finally got home, and I dropped him off, and I pulled in to our driveway, and I walked into the house, and when I walked into that house, I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. I wasn't sure. And my dad was sitting in his favorite chair. My dad was reading his favorite newspaper. We were a Columbus Citizen Journal family. Nothing against the Dispatch, but we were a morning paper family. He was reading his morning paper from that morning and smoking his favorite pipe, which he inhaled for 30-some years, which is a whole other sermon for another time. And pipe in his mouth behind the paper. And I walked in, and I thought of John 14, which we heard today. And it's right here in front of me. This scholar says that John 14, verses 12 through 24, is about this. If you love me, you will keep my commandments. So I walked into that living room, and I said to my dad, Dad, John 14, 12 through 24. If you love me, you will keep... No, I didn't say that. And I wasn't thinking about the Gospel of John. And now all these years later, my dad died, lived a long, full life to age 88. He died when he was 88. And I said, Dad, and I wasn't sure what was going to come out of my mouth. And he looked over me, pipe in his mouth, looked over me, over his paper, and he said, "Yeah?" And I said, "Dad, I kind of crashed the car. I kind of crashed the car. I think that's how I put it. Kind of crashed the car." And I did not expect him to say what he said next, but I should have known. And I'm talking to us all about truth. Jesus was trying to talk with his disciples about truth. I said, "Dad, I kind of crashed the car." And what did he say?
Are you okay, baby?
He said, "Are you okay?" If you love me, you will keep my commandments. It's the Spirit of truth. And this story means a lot to me because it's about truth and it's about relationship and it's about grace. He said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yes, I'm fine." About a month later, I was driving my mom's car, and I backed into my dad's car in our driveway. And I had to go in and say, "Dad, I just backed into your car with Mom's car." And he said, in so many words, "You are an idiot." And I was. And that's called the truth. And it's called justice. It's grace and truth and justice. And knock on wood, I haven't backed into anybody's car in anybody's driveway since. I'm knocking on wood. It's the Spirit of truth. Congratulations to our youth. Congratulations to our youth leaders. And if we love Christ, we will keep Christ's commandments in the Spirit of truth. Amen? Amen. Amen.